A World Health Organization expert agrees with China's narrative that the virus can be transmitted via frozen food. That's amid no reports of virus transmission via food packaging in China. China's ambassador to the U.S. echoed a claim pushed by Beijing that the CCP virus may have originated from the U.S. A local Chinese official orders police to show no mercy while beating petitioners, including pregnant women. China's regulators met with Tesla over customer complaints. They instruct the carmaker to comply with Chinese law. And the U.S. challenges Beijing's claims in the South China Sea. That's as tensions rise between Japan and China over contested islands in the East China Sea. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Apparent similarities between comments from Chinese officials and World Health Organization experts. Top Chinese health authority Lian Wannian said Tuesday the virus could have been circulating in other regions before it was identified in Wuhan at the end of 2019. In a joint press briefing with the WHO, he said there had been no substantial spread of the virus in the central Chinese city before the late 2019 outbreak. WHO virus expert Peter Ben Emmerich spoke during the same conference, dismissing the possibility of a laboratory leak as extremely unlikely. He pointed again to a, quote, natural reservoir in bats, but it's unlikely that they were in Wuhan. A WHO lead team of experts has been in Wuhan for more than 3 weeks, spending the first 2 in quarantine. Members visited Wuhan's virology lab for 3 hours last week as part of an arranged tour set up by the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. Emmerich said the team had identified market vendors selling frozen animal products. His words echoed the CCP's narrative that the virus can be transmitted by frozen food. For months, the CCP has repeatedly claimed findings of CCP virus traces on imported food packaging, including chicken, beef, seafood products, and even ice cream. But a Chinese food security official said in January that in China there have been no reported cases of people contracting the virus through purchasing or handling frozen food. While WHO experts are visiting Wuhan, China's ambassador to the U.S. reiterated Beijing's conspiracy that the CCP virus may have originated from the U.S. Ambassador Cui Tiankai suggested this in an interview with CNN over the weekend. The CCP virus is widely believed to have originated from Wuhan, China, but researchers worldwide are still unclear about exactly when and how the virus first started. Cui also brushed aside theories claiming the virus originated from either a wet market or lab in Wuhan. This isn't the first time the Chinese regime has sought to blame the U.S. for causing the pandemic. In March last year, the CCP's foreign ministry spokesperson accused the U.S. Army of bringing the virus to Wuhan during a military sports event in 2019. Last month, the U.S. State Department says it had reason to believe several researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology fell ill with CCP virus-like symptoms in the fall of 2019. The institute, however, says there was zero infection among lab members. Other than the U.S., the CCP has also accused Italy, Spain, India, and Norway of being the origins of the virus. 2 Canadian Chinese virology scientists have been fired by a public health agency of Canada. This amid a police investigation. According to CBC News, in 2019, scientist Xiang Guanqiu and her husband were stripped of their security access to the National Microbiology Lab, a lab containing deadly pathogens. They were removed for a possible policy breach, which was referred to police. And in June 2020, documents obtained by CBC revealed that Qiu was responsible for shipment of Ebola and Hennepin viruses to the Wuhan Institute of Virology in 2019. The same lab being investigated for the origins of the CCP virus. The shipment raised public speculations about the couple being involved in espionage activities, allegations which the health agency denies. Qiu is affiliated with a number of universities in China and has received grants from the Chinese regime. A spokesperson for the agency told CBC that they cannot disclose any additional information on the firing. For a brief moment in recent history, Communist China enjoyed freedom of speech. It came in the form of an app called Clubhouse. The app is a social networking forum and allows for open conversations among users. The app doesn't censor content, doesn't record users' conversations, and provides a degree of privacy for users. The feature drew increasing interest among Chinese users. Topics usually forbidden by the Chinese web censors flourished on the app. Conversations skyrocketed about Hong Kong's freedom, Taiwan's sovereignty, and the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, and the suppression of the Uyghur minority in Xinjiang. But the burst of free expression was short-lived. Chinese authorities got wind of the app, banning it on Monday. The app may be blocked now, but Chinese netizens enjoyed it while it lasted. The hashtag #ClubhouseBlocked trended on one of China's largest social media platforms, Weibo, soon after. Clubhouse is a US-based app, but it may also partly use Chinese technology, as engineers have discovered some traces of it in the app. A top Chinese official paid one household a visit over the weekend, but his findings appear to contrast Beijing's claim that China is now poverty-free. The Chinese regime recently announced poverty has been eradicated from the country, something Beijing has touted as a major accomplishment. But the visit from China's Premier Li Keqiang tells another story. Li went to inspect Yuncheng City inside Jiangxi province over the weekend. According to Chinese media, the area had previously been poverty-stricken. Li's visit was expected to show that households there are now free of poverty. After Li arrived, locals explained they burn fruit branches and straw pellets as fuel to cook and heat their rooms due to a lack of electricity and gas. When Li asked a family about any challenges they face, they told him the quality of the local water supply is poor, that rainwater floods their home on rainy days, and noted they have no indoor heat in the winter. Winter temperatures often drop below freezing in the region. Reports also describe how Li bought New Year goods ahead of the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday to give out to poor households. But the daily struggles residents face remain unsolved. While China's poor continue to suffer in some regions, relief funding designed to help them appears to be landing in wealthier pockets. A local from China's eastern Jiangsu province recently reported about a dozen rich households from his village are receiving poverty aid money from authorities. He also lives in poverty because of a disability, but never received the funding benefits he should be. One of the households receiving the money owns 4 companies with assets totaling over $1.5 million. And yet the family has reportedly been receiving poverty aid for over a decade. Aid benefit corruption has plagued China for years. A 2019 report showed that even people who own expensive German cars made by companies like Mercedes-Benz and Audi receive poverty benefits, often because they enjoy personal connections with certain CCP officials. Residents have called attention to the situation, but authorities have brushed off the issue. In a leaked recording from China, a local official orders police to beat petitioners with no mercy. This is a way to prevent citizens from expressing grievances to authorities. NTD's Yi Ru has more.
In some places, the police fail to prevent petitioners from sending their complaints because they say they can't beat the elderly, or people with disabilities, or people with high blood pressure, or pregnant women, and so on. I tell you, you must beat them, and beat them with no mercy. I'll take responsibility if they die.
A leaked recording reveals comments from the former head of one city's petition bureau in Hulunbuir City inside China's Inner Mongolia region. It shows then bureau head Dong Shimin instructing police and public security officers on how to deal with petitioners. Petitioners are people in China who think they've been treated unfairly by authorities and haven't been able to get their grievances addressed by the judicial system. In Communist China, the judicial system is under the control of the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. This is why some of them go to local petition bureaus to file their complaints, but most of the cases are left unresolved. The leaked recording was captured in August 2019 during a local conference on maintaining stability in the city. In his speech, Dong criticized police officers who dare not punish petitioners. Dong said all petitioners must be detained. After a 10-day detention, they will be made to write so-called repentance statements and promise to never send any further complaints. He added that once petitioners are sentenced to prison, they will be obedient. He called it an effective way of dealing with them. Dong was promoted to the head of the city's judicial bureau last year. Chinese petitioner Ms. Liu said this approach is used by the CCP nationwide. That's why officials dare to beat petitioners, illegally detain them, and even beat them to death. To protect her identity, we're only using her surname.
In fact, in every petition bureau, public security bureau, and stability maintenance organization across the country, officials basically behave the same way.
Canada-based Chinese lawyer Lai Jianping says, by nature, the regime will work to suppress all human rights defenders.
Communist Party officials want to get promoted and make money, so they implement the party's policies and carry out the orders issued by the authorities.
Lai says the CCP maintains its tyranny by enslaving its people. With the regime's support, Dong and other officials are able to treat petitioners ruthlessly and face no consequences. Reporting by Yiru, NTD News.
A Chinese artist studio has been forcibly torn down in Beijing. His art mainly focuses on bringing human rights issues to light. Wang Ping was preparing an exhibition in his studio to memorialize Wuhan whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang. He was one of the doctors who first sounded the alarm over the dangers of the CCP virus. At that time, it was known only as an unknown pneumonia spreading in Wuhan. He was quickly silenced by police and later died of the virus. February 7th marked the one-year anniversary of his death. Wang refused to let the demolition stop him. He held the exhibition anyway on Sunday, amid the debris of his destroyed studio. Wang's fight against the practice of forced building teardowns started years ago. For the past 2 decades, he's been using his art to give a voice to the vulnerable, including those who suffered under China's recently repealed one-child policy. Wang told NTD sister media, the Epoch Times, that authorities are now using virus prevention measures to forcibly tear down buildings. That's because it's hard for those who oppose the practice to come out and show support amid the country's widespread lockdown orders. Wang says Chinese authorities consider him a, quote, thorn in the eye, adding that the destruction of his studio was a warning to keep quiet, especially as his efforts have garnered attention for foreign media. He noted that if the regime's power is left unchecked, the country will end up in rubble. Due to worsening economic situations, a court in China is unable to pay its workers. Chinese media reported that a county court in central China's Henan province has not been paying some of its clerks for several months. According to the official report, the local Human Resources and Social Security Bureau recruited people to work as court clerks, court police, or pre-litigation mediators. But authorities say those workers are temporary. According to public information, at least 50 people protested for not receiving wages for months. One of the clerks, Li Weiyang, started the protest. Li was later forced to remain silent due to the risk of being fired. Other protesters also faced punishments. Radio Free Asia tried to contact Li, but is unable to reach her. After Chinese media reported the case, the court paid 1 or 2 months' salary, but another 6 months of salary is still unpaid. Chinese regulators have called in Tesla over customer complaints. The electric car maker has enjoyed an unusually warm welcome in the communist country. It's the first wholly foreign-owned car maker in China. NTD's Patrick Hayden reports.
China's top market regulator says it met with Tesla over customer complaints. Defects mentioned include battery fires, unexpected acceleration and software failures. It told the automaker to comply with Chinese laws and regulations. It added that Tesla needs to strengthen internal management to ensure the safety and quality of its products. Tesla Shanghai said it sincerely accepted the guidance of government departments. The tone of the message seemed quite obedient compared to how Elon Musk has publicly sparred with US authorities in the past. China's public dissatisfaction with Tesla comes as the company is ramping up production of the Model Y at its Shanghai plant. This follows global recalls of some of its other models affecting imports in China. It also faces growing competition from China's domestic rivals. The summons perhaps marks a change in relationship between it and the Chinese regime. Tesla says it will investigate the problems and set up inspections. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
Now we look to the South China Sea. In a series of moves, countries are challenging the Chinese regime's claims in the disputed waters there. On Tuesday, 2 fleets of U.S. warships and aircraft carriers conducted joint exercises in the South China Sea. A statement from the U.S. Navy says the exercises are to demonstrate its ability to operate in challenging environments. The South China Sea has great strategic importance. It's home to one of the world's major shipping routes, and it also has over $2 trillion worth of oil and gas resources. The CCP claims almost all of the South China Sea. But Vietnam and Taiwan also have competing claims. And all three require other countries to ask for permission before their ships can pass through the waters. But the U.S. argues these are unlawful claims. It says under international law, all states have the freedom to navigate the disputed waters. And by doing exercises or sailing through the waters, the U.S. says it's challenging these unlawful claims. A French submarine also sailed through the South China Sea this Monday, challenging the CCP's claims. And last week, after sailing through the Taiwan Strait, the same U.S. warship passed through the South China Sea. The U.S. Navy has conducted similar missions in the past, but the latest mission is the first under the Biden administration. Beijing has condemned these recent moves and claims it expelled the warship. And military activities don't stop at the South China Sea. Both the U.S. and Communist China are conducting week-long drills. The People's Liberation Army, or PLA, is doing military drills in waters surrounding the northeastern region. And this came after the U.S. military started conducting exercises on Guam with Australia and Japan. The island of Guam is a U.S. overseas territory in the Western Pacific. Analysts see the U.S. drill as a move to better counter threats from Russia and Communist China. A group of disputed islands in the East China Sea are in the spotlight. Tensions between China and Japan are on the rise there. That's after vessels operated by the Chinese regime entered the disputed waters. Japan says the Chinese ships approached two Japanese fishing boats. Both China and Japan lay claim to the disputed islands. Japan calls them the Senkakus, while Beijing refers to them as the Jiaoyu. Japan appears to be especially sensitive to Beijing's latest activity there. It's the first move of its kind after China passed a controversial law. The law allows Chinese Coast Guard ships to fire at foreign vessels in waters that fall under Beijing's jurisdiction. But China remains vague about its territory and claims many disputed regions as its own. Beijing could apply the law to the Senkakus. Japan set up a task force team to analyze the situation following the incident. A Hong Kong court denied bail for government critic and newspaper publisher Jimmy Lai. He is facing charges under a sweeping new national security law. NTD's Brian Wood reports.
Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai was denied bail by the city's top court on Tuesday. He's a prominent critic of Beijing and is the most high-profile person to be charged under Hong Kong's national security law. Lai was detained in early December, then released on bail for about a week, before he was brought back into custody for another hearing at the end of last year.
The court pointed to an article in the national security law, which says that the bail won't be given unless, quote,
the judge has sufficient grounds for believing that they will not continue to commit acts endangering national security. Beijing imposed the sweeping national security law last summer to punish anything China considers subversive with up to life in prison. When Lai was arrested under the law last year, nearly 200 police officers raided the newsroom of his Apple Daily newspaper. Prosecutors say Lai illegally requested foreign intervention in statements he made last summer. The tycoon has been a frequent visitor to Washington, D.C., meeting with the likes of former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to rally support for Hong Kong democracy.
The British Consulate General has been informed that Hong Kong, like other parts of China, does not recognize dual nationality. The statement comes from Hong Kong authorities. Based on the UK government's travel advice, citizens with dual nationality may be treated as a Chinese citizen by local authorities, even if they enter Hong Kong on a British passport. That means Britain's Consulate General may not be able to offer consulate assistance. Just before warning the UK, Hong Kong officials halted international diplomats from offering assistance to Chinese dual citizens with foreign passports who had been arrested or detained in the city in certain cases. There are hundreds of thousands of dual Chinese nationals in Hong Kong. Until now, they were able to work in the city while maintaining family links overseas and vice versa. The warning brings new uncertainty for the future. 1 year ago today, we uploaded our first video to the China in Focus YouTube channel. Now we have more than 600,000 subscribers. On behalf of the whole China in Focus team, I want to thank you for your support over the past year. I also want to take this opportunity and announce some good news. Our team at NTD is working hard to launch a newsletter. The first issue will be released soon, and you can sign up at advance at newsletter.ntd.com. Quite a bit has happened since we started this channel. You might know that YouTube has recently demonetized this channel, and social media platforms have put new restrictions into place that might affect your access to our content. But you can stay tuned by subscribing to that newsletter, or of course by visiting us at ntd.com. And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow. Hi, we're happy to announce that you can also catch us on cable TV now. Millions of households already choose us as one of their trusted news sources, and you can too. You can watch us in Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, and many other cities as well. And if your system doesn't carry NTD yet, you can just give them a quick call and request NTD on your cable provider. Thank you for watching. See you next time.